Making It Personal with Bishop William Joensen on Iowa Catholic Radio and iowacatholicradio.com.
Welcome to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen. I'm Liam Dale, seminarian with the Diocese of Des Moines, and on today's show we're visiting with Katherine Talalas, the Assistant Director of the Pro-Life Communications at the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops. She's here to talk about the new initiative created by the USCCB called Walking with Moms in Need. But before we get into today's interview, let's find out what's on the bishop's mind.
Good morning, Liam. I think you're probably halfway through your summer internship by now, right?
Yeah, just a little bit over.
Yeah. I mean, and the time spent with your fellow seminarians during the ordinations and everything else. And do they sympathize with you? I mean, you have to be with the bishop, whereas they're out and doing other ministries and free in the various parishes of the diocese. And here you are laboring, under the watchful gaze of your ordinary here. So you're not answering.
We've all got our different things we're working.
We all have our crosses to bear in that way. So, we're still kind of coasting in the beautiful momentum of that ordination and the three young priests. Of course, Father Nick Smith, to assume on July 14th with the change in assignments, the associate pastor at Our Lady's Immaculate Heart. Father Rodrigo Mayorga Landeros will be at St. Anthony in Des Moines, also helping out with the Hispanic ministry, so that'll carry him to Christ the King and perhaps other places as well. And Father Alex Kramer, who will be returning for further studies in canon law. But he's helping out at Catholic Youth Camp all month, so it's a great thing. In fact, we should today give a shout out to happy birthday to Father Alex Kramer. It's his birthday today, along with the other diocese, Father Noah Deem of the Dubuque Archdiocese, Ruth Burton, who keeps our place looking livable at the Cathedral Rectory, and brings her goodwill and good spirit, even though she is a Hawkeye fan. We have to kind of put up with that. And a shout out to my niece Olivia Joensen. It's their 17th birthday today. So,
there you go.
When you make it personal, you get to take on some of these things and offer that. But appreciated St. Luke and Ankeny hosting a couple Saturdays ago for the Biking for Babies local ride to raise awareness and some material support for pregnancy resource centers, in particular Martha's House in Ames, and Intervisions here in Des Moines. And it wasn't a huge turnout, but I think we're growing every year. This was the second year for the local ride, and we got into the saddle and were able to go up 46 miles round trip, and Jimmy Becker and I kept the conversation going for most of that, so that was a good ride, and stopping at Woodward and turning around back, so all was well. For those who might want to support the Biking for Babies national ride, which is converging from 4 different directions, the ride that's starting in the Midwest in Minnesota, winding its way through Iowa on its way to St. Louis. Next Wednesday, July 13th, they will be stopping in Des Moines. We're going to have Mass for them, and by all rights, I think it's at Cathedral. I'll be celebrating the Mass. I normally do 12:10 Mass on Wednesdays, so we might binate that day, and I'll have a 5 p.m. Mass as the riders come in, and people from the area will be welcome to join us, and then learn a little bit more about Biking for Babies. So one of those ways in which we are, in fact, supporting far beyond, pregnancy, but continuing to accompany women and everything else. So we're looking forward to talking to Kat about initiatives that were well in place before the Dobbs decision came down, and obviously a lot of angst, a lot of cultural simmering on things. We notice a lot of professional athletes, women and men, kind of coming out against the Dobbs decision, that kind of sense that the autonomy that one has over one's body, that one can dispose of that, which kind of ignores the what is it question. What is it that's there? Is it present? Another person who's already taken root in this way. And so I'm really fond of these days of citing Archbishop Anthony Fisher's kind of capturing this pilgrimage that they're just trying to, these are just persons who are just trying to migrate from the womb to the world, and want to continue to support them. I'm aware of pregnancy resource centers in Creston, in Shenandoah, and Hamburg also. And so I think the many ways that we can shine a light on that. And I also want to give a shout out to Deacon Marvin Klein, his wife Dolores. They were marshals in the July 4th parade in Dunlap. Deacon living in Dunlap, St. Patrick's Parish for many years, married over 60 years, their children and their 20 grandchildren and 13 great-grandchildren, a great couple. I hope when they were riding in that parade, they weren't making out in the back seat there. So back to you, Lee.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we return, we'll welcome Katherine Talalas, the Assistant Director of the Pro-Life Communications at USCCB. You're listening to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen on Iowa Catholic Radio and the Spirit Catholic Radio Network.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio provided by the Society of St. Vincent de Paul. Established in Des Moines in 1924, St. Vincent de Paul assists those living in poverty to become self-sufficient by helping to remove roadblocks on their journey out of poverty. St. Vincent de Paul helps with food, clothing, and shelter, while also offering classes in financial literacy, high school completion, career readiness, and prisoner reentry. Shop, donate, volunteer, serve. The Society of St. Vincent de Paul, svdpdsm.org.
Hello, this is Steve Ray. Join me in Iowa Catholic Radio on the journey of a lifetime with the Footprints of God pilgrimage to the Holy Land, November 11th through the 20th, 2023. We'll visit the places where our Lord performed miracles, including the Mount of Transfiguration, the wedding church in Cana, Tabgha, where Jesus multiplied the loaves and fish, and of course, the Holy Sepulchre. The scriptures will come alive as I offer expert teaching along the way, like I always do. Visit iowacatholicradio.com for all the details.
Welcome back to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen. Today we're visiting on our show with Kat Talalas, Assistant Director of Pro-Life Communications at the USCCB. She's here to talk about an initiative created by the USCCB called Walking with Moms in Need.
So good morning, Ms. Talalas, if I may call you Kat. Appreciate you being with us. Yeah, appreciate you being with us this morning. And we haven't really gotten to know each other very well, but so on this show, Making It Personal, love to hear a little bit how you came to be, the path that led you to your position now with the U.S. Bishops and the Pro-Life Communications Office.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. You know, it's a story of God's wonderful grace and a real privilege to be able to work in the pro-life movement. So my background is actually kind of interesting. Maybe, I mean, everyone's background is interesting.
Indeed.
But right. But, you know, for a long time, my passion was theater, acting, doing, you know, filmmaking and things like that. I was an English literature major focusing on drama. And
where was that? Where did you do that? Where were you studying?
So I studied at Rutgers University.
Okay.
I'm from New Jersey. I'm a New Jersey girl.
Okay.
And and so that was
Vivian Stringer was our Iowa's gift to Rutgers many years ago. So yeah.
Oh,
okay.
wonderful.
Yeah. Okay.
Wonderful.
Women's basketball coach.
Yes, and and they were amazing. And they were amazing when I was there too. I was privileged to get to know some of the basketball players in the Rutgers team. And yes, so I was very much involved with that world, and really that's where I had a sort of reversion to the Catholic faith. I had never left the Catholic faith, but there was a lot that I think I didn't quite understand about my faith. Maybe my catechesis, you know, hadn't been so great. But the Catholic Center at Rutgers, I found a true community and a true encounter with the Eucharist that did change my life. And that encounter with the Eucharist, I think, was the motivating factor in most of my decisions going forward. I had decided
your own kind of Eucharistic revival. You were Eucharistic revival before the U.S. bishops. Okay.
Amen. Yes. Praise the Lord. And that really is, so for so many people, you know, that encounter with the Eucharist changes your life and makes you desire God above everything. And that reversion that I had did definitely shape my decisions going forward. I decided to go to law school. Through God's providence, I got to go to the College of William and Mary for law school. And while I was
beautiful campus, okay.
Beautiful campus, so much history, and a real privilege to be there. And while I was there, I connected most strongly with my classes in disability law and advocacy. And I thought while I was in law school that I probably would do some sort of special education advocacy or disability advocacy as a career. And through a lot of different twists and turns, I did end up working in the disability community. But one aspect of disability that was still so striking to me was the life issue and how so many persons with disabilities were discriminated against. But that began in the womb. And this idea that certain lives weren't worth living. And as Catholics, we know that every life is worth living, right? As Fulton Sheen said so well, every single life has value. Every single life is worth living. And that became so clear to me working with persons with disabilities and their families, how much capacity they had to do so much good in the world and how worthy they were of love and community. And that did inspire, or I should say cemented, my pro-life conviction about the value of every single human life. So initially I was able to work with a wonderful congressman who really focused a lot on disability law as well as pro-life, and I did work for him for a short while.
That being?
Congressman Chris Smith.
Oh, my goodness, yes, from New Jersey.
New Jersey.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, wonderful guy. And when I really, though, realized when I was there, I was doing a lot more political stuff. And I feel like going back to acting and theater and a lot of the writing and creative work I used to do, my gifts were more in the line of writing, expression, being able to translate a lot of these legal and political roles into plain English for most people to understand, because most of us haven't had 3 years in law school and don't read the technical points of Supreme Court decisions or policies in the same way, and nor should they have to, right? So the growing conviction became that I missed writing and speaking and communicating, and I had the opportunity to transition from Chris Smith's office into a role at a nonprofit called Women Speak for Themselves, which was created by Professor Helen Alvarez, who's been a long time, pro-life Catholic advocate and attorney. And
used to be in her parish in Bethesda, Maryland, when I was in residence in my studies. So at St. Jane de Chantal. So yeah.
Oh, St. Jane de Chantal. That's a fantastic parish. Yeah. Wow, that's great.
It got better once I left.
I'm sure that's not true. Yes, and a great thing.
Well, your passion is infectious, and so you're obviously not just somebody who has the art of media and communications, and just put the points in front of you. But that this is very personal for you, and how God kind of steering you. And I'm going to borrow that word reversion. I think that's a nifty term, but to do that. So USCCB, the opportunity came there, and the
opportunity came there. Yeah, and it was a great thing. My work at Women Speak for Themselves was winding down. We did a lot with the HHS mandate, specifically with the Little Sisters of the Poor, and working on empowering women, Catholic women especially, but women of all faiths, to talk about what really mattered to them. And because so often, especially at that time of the HHS mandate, about 5-6 years ago, the culture and the media was saying what women want is free birth control and free abortion, and that's what women want. And yet so many women, I think most women, almost all women, would say, if you had a list of things that I wanted, abortion would not be on the top of that list. Would not be abortion and birth control. It would be things like quality health care and, healthy food and a good job and time with my kids. And that's what women most often desire, right? Fulfilling work and fulfilling relationships. And birth control and abortion, they drive a wrench right into that. They don't support it. So that's what you're doing there. And then so when the HHS mandate, with the Little Sisters, won in court, that nonprofit was winding down, and I had the opportunity then to transition into the USCCB pro-life office, where I was doing pro-life communication for the church, which was, oh my goodness, and is such a privilege to be able to serve God in this way and serve the church in the issue that I felt most connected to in Catholic social teaching. So that has been a great gift for the past 3 years.
And how blessed we are that you are serving the national church and really the universal church in that way. And so grateful to you that assisting the shepherds and obviously Archbishop Naumann of Kansas City, and now handing the baton over to Archbishop William Laurie of Baltimore as the head of pro-life activities committee for the USCCB. So and who knows, the HHS most recent mandate, which is really going to again try and curtail the conscience rights of healthcare providers and compel them to involve themselves in all sorts of objectionable procedures, including contraception, abortion, transgender interventions, and things on that level. So there's plenty of work to do. The cause goes on, and so we have to do that. But something on a very positive, proactive way, long before the Dobbs decision came down, that the U.S. bishops have been involved in, is this initiative, Walking with Moms in Need. And that's really kind of an umbrella term to express the many diverse initiatives at local diocesan levels, but it's giving it some coherence and coordination as well. So could you kind of unfold that for us?
Absolutely. So as you said, this Walking with Moms in Need initiative or idea began well before the Dobbs decision. About 2-3 years ago, we were starting to see a lot of these state decisions happening about abortion and expanding abortion. There was obviously a huge controversy in Virginia that bordered on infanticide. We heard about, what was happening in New York, and just these expansions of abortion that were, honestly, to I think the average American, whether or not they're a person of faith, are just aberrant, and so anti-woman and anti-child. And so as USCCB, we are sort of a place where bishops can go for resources, where they can come together and vote and make decisions about things that happen in the United States and how they want to respond to them. But the USCCB does not tend to get, and because we respect, obviously, the hierarchy of the church, the universal church, we respect the role of bishops to make decisions in their own dioceses, and bishops really are, have that responsibility. So we knew that our role wasn't to go directly into these states and to do things there, to speak about things happening in the states, because that is the role of the bishop in the State Catholic Conference. However, our role, as you said, is to support the shepherds, to support the bishops in the State Catholic Conferences. So we were praying about what to do. We knew we wanted to do something big, something that would have the potential to impact dioceses all over the country, and to also just change the narrative about the Catholic Church and women and children, because we know that the Church's teachings are for women and for their children, and have provided so many women and mothers with spiritual strength and then also material services often when it comes to the service work of the Church. So we really wanted to do something. And we did a novena. This has happened, I forget exactly what time of year, but it was around the time of the Feast of the Holy Innocents. We decided to do a novena to the Holy Innocents about what do we do about these crazy laws happening in the states, that are just expanding abortion so rapidly and in such a destructive way. And this was the result. We came up with this idea that we wanted to help and empower local parishes to coordinate with the dioceses to give the best service and love and outreach possible to local moms in need. Because no matter what any Supreme Court decides, although it decided very well on Friday, no matter what any court decides, no matter what any local legislature or state legislature decides, we're always going to have women in need of the love and care of the Church and the friendship and spiritual support of faithful Catholics. And because of that truth, that they'll always be with us, we wanted to do something that would be valuable for many years to come. And that's why Walking with Moms in Need became our focus at that time, was to give something to these states who are facing this legislation that was so negative, and help local parishes offer real alternatives to the women targeted by the abortion industry.
And so pregnancy resource centers, we think of movements that are longstanding, like Birthright, Project Gabriel, Project Rachel, trying to bring healing and things that I was more immediately involved with as a younger priest, women who suffered abortion, and trying to help them believe God's unconditional love. But how then does this kind of extend itself and maybe have new creative initiatives that are part of this?
Sure. Well, Walking Moms in Need differently was it gave parishes a process to go through, because often we do have these amazing ministries, but they're kind of disconnected. And I think that's one thing that the abortion lobby does very well, actually, is they're coordinated. You don't see Planned Parenthood and NARAL saying different things or using different messages or, dispersing. They're all united on this. They have name recognition. Planned Parenthood has name recognition. They have brand recognition, and they do things in coordination with each other. They're not at odds. And one thing that I think is or could be better about the pro-life movement, and also, for example, natural family planning, is if people were more coordinated in their messaging, so that the amplification could happen in the culture, so that people would actually hear the same messages out in the culture from us, and that they would have a coherent understanding of what it is to be pro-life and pro-woman. So what Walking with Moms in Need offers is a process that any parish can go through, literally any parish. You can be in a red state, you can be in a blue state. You can be doing the Gabriel Project and Project Rachel or you could be doing prepares, or you could just have a great pregnancy center that's local. And it applies to every single parish, because what Walking with Moms in Need is fundamentally is a process. And that process has parishes first of all, develop a core team where local interested individuals, wherever they are in their journey, can come together, take a look at the resources out there, use our inventory to say, hey, do we have a Catholic hospital nearby? Do we have a good Catholic OBGYN? Do we have a food bank? Do we have a maternity home or, low-cost housing? And really put themselves in the shoes of women who are looking for these resources, who are scared and who are vulnerable to abortion, and say, if I was in their shoes, what would be available to me? And to actually put all that down in an inventory. And then once that inventory is done, they can see what gaps are there and then pray and think creatively on how to fill those gaps so that no woman in their community feels like abortion is her best option.
Marvelous. So it's obviously kind of practicing subsidiarity, that those most affected at the local level are the ones who have an influence and trying to unite themselves in this way and on the message and things. Catholic-centric, but not exclusively Catholic? I mean, open to other organizations?
So I think it depends on the parish's judgment, the diocese, right? Certain parishes, and as we've seen, the pregnancy care movement is amazing. We have something like 2,700 pregnancy care centers all over the U.S. But with that, there's a diversity, right? And so some of those pregnancy care centers might, offer things that Catholics would not agree with, like, birth control access. For certain pregnancy care centers, they might do that. So it's really up to the discretion of the local parish and the core team to investigate that, to ask those questions, because I think that sometimes we can do so much more if we're not duplicating efforts with our evangelical brothers and sisters, but sharing that together.
Amen. Kat, we're going to ask you to pause here. We're going to take just a little break as I throw it back to Liam.
Yeah, we're going to take a quick break, and you're listening to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen on Iowa Catholic Radio and the Spirit Catholic Radio Network.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio is provided by the Sarah Vocations Ministry, including the St. Sarah Club of Des Moines and the Sarah Club of Council Bluffs. Sarah is an apostolate of the Worldwide Catholic Church dedicated to fostering and supporting priesthood and religious vocations. Sarahans strive to accomplish their mission through prayer, fellowship, and service to the bishop, priests, sisters, and all in religious formation, and in doing so to increase their own holiness. Learn more at joinsarah.org, joinserra.org. Thank you, Sarahans, for your support of Iowa Catholic Radio.
Hello, this is Steve Raid, inviting you to join me along with Matt Wilcom and Father P.J. McManus for the Iowa Catholic Radio's 15th anniversary pilgrimage to the Holy Land, November 11th through the 20th, 2023. We'll have Mass and dinner on the shores of the Sea of Galilee and visit the upper room where Jesus instituted the Holy Eucharist. Plus, my wife Janet and I will be offering invigorating teaching along the way. Not all pilgrimages are created equal. Brochures and details available at iowacatholicradio.com.
Welcome to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen. We're back with Kat Talalas, Assistant Director with Pro-Life Communications at the USCCB, about a new program called Walking with Moms in Need.
And we'll put new in scare quotes because it's, really almost 2 years beyond here as it was initiated in the Feast of the Annunciation in 2020. But, I spoke about subsidiarity and how the local parish level, we want to come back to that to really kind of assist. But the solidarity of the Universal Church under our shepherd, Holy Father Pope Francis, and Pope Francis and his engagement with the Region 9 bishops of Nebraska, Iowa, Missouri, Kansas, Archbishop Naumann there present with him in our visit, and the Holy Father said, really, thank you, especially those who work in our pregnancy resource centers for accompanying women with difficult pregnancies, for being part of these islands of mercy. And as the Holy Father always has these kind of clarion phrases that kind of cut through the static of our world. And so he was obviously receptive. There was a little bit of back and forth about, whether we say preeminent right, but it's the foundational right of all things. So, but back to the parishes, and I think let's get very practical here in our remaining minutes. What would be your counsel to people in the parishes who are ardently pro-life and would like to see more, active involvement and more support of women?
Well, I think this is a perfect way for them to get pro-life started in the parish and to bring more people into the pro-life fold. Because Walking with Moms in Need is, first of all, it's a lay-led ministry. So if your priest is overwhelmed and he just does not have the time, and I know so many priests are so burdened right now, especially recovering from the pandemic, in ministries. The great thing about Walking with Moms in Need is everything can really be done under the approval of a priest, but be led and truly completed by a lay group. So if they can just go to walkingwithmoms.com, they'll find all the resources they need there. We have a 1-hour introductory webinar that'll explain exactly how to bring this to your parish. We have an action guide. We have a short one that's 5 pages, gives you an overview. You can start with that. And then we have a longer one that gives you literally everything you need, soup to nuts. Even if you've never done ministry before in your entire life, we explain how to email your pastor and ask him to do this with you. Or for you to do this.
Which takes some finesse, right? Making an attractive invitation. Yeah. Okay.
And they're great. And speaking of attractive invitation, the thing about Walking with Moms in Need is you don't have to be someone who is ardently politically pro-life already to get involved with this, because it's just about pregnancy care. We're not doing any advocacy in Walking with Moms in Need specifically, right? There's advocacy done by the USCCB and Respect Life, and that's great and necessary. But Walking with Moms itself is truly a ministry of service to pregnant and parenting women, and everyone can get behind that. And I find that it's a great way to get this conversation started at the parish, even if your priest might be a little skittish about talking about abortion or doesn't want to get controversial. Walking with Moms in Need doesn't touch abortion. We only talk about resources for pregnant and parenting moms and how they can get them and how we can walk with the women who are most vulnerable among us, who are parenting young kids, who are pregnant and who don't have what they need to give security to their families. And so the great thing about Walking with Moms is that everyone who has the time and desire can do this, and every parish can welcome this, because it's not it's truly a ministry rooted in the charity and love of Christ, and it's geared solely towards service. And everything anyone needs to do it is at walkingwithmoms.com. You can go to our parish resources page and watch the webinar and find out what this is all about, and then reach out to your pastor and be bold, because this is a time when so many more women are going to be needing these services, looking for these services, and the church needs to be there to catch them.
Sounds, again, not trying to add to the polarization factor, kind of an adversarial engagement, but truly trying to unify people of goodwill. Amen. And to bless and anoint them in powerful ways, and give that witness, that we want to go the way of peace together and draw them, as Pope Francis says, accompanying each other on the way that Christ is with us. The Holy Spirit will anoint and bless people, and the Father's there. So thanks for being with us, Kat. I look forward to our paths crossing again.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency.
This has been another edition of Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen. Thank you to our guest and all of our listeners in Iowa, Nebraska, and Wisconsin, or wherever you may be listening, to Iowa Catholic Radio and the Spirit Catholic Radio Network.
You can hear Making It Personal with Bishop William Joensen every week on Iowa Catholic Radio and iowacatholicradio.com.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio and Making It Personal is provided by Sarah Vocations Ministry. Learn more at joinserra.org.